at JFK Airport, staring out at the Boeing 747 that's scheduled to take my wife Pam and me on our 12-hour flight to Russia. It's September 16th, 1999, and this past week, 2 apartment buildings in Moscow have been bombed, and Hurricane Floyd is coming up the coast and getting near. The wind is violent, and the rain is pelting the window that I'm staring out of. Now, I've always been a bit of a nervous flyer, but today I am terrified. I absolutely do not want to get on that plane, but I know that I will, and I'm sure it's going to be one of the worst days of my life. In May, we were married in May 1991 in no particular hurry to have any children, but after 8 years and an ectopic pregnancy and a miscarriage and a couple of operations and a sperm test, which I passed with flying colors, by the way, we've decided to adopt. And we're choosing Russia because the process is smooth, and given our ancestry, there's a good chance that the child, likely a son, may even look something like us. So it's off to Russia, we're headed. Now, we've been told that as soon as we land, we're going to immediately head to the orphanage. And so I went to my doc and I said, "Hey doc, I don't sleep well on planes. And so is there something that you can help me with, because I want to be awake and fresh when we arrive?" He said, "Tell you what, I'll give you 2 prescriptions, and you can try them both out, and then you can pick the one that seems to work the best for you. But under no circumstances should you take more than 3 of this one or 5 of that one." I said, "I got it." Now, back at the airport, we just found out that morning, another apartment building in Moscow had been bombed. 17 people died. And the weather is getting even worse. I can't believe that they're even going to try to take off or fly in this. But we just got an announcement that boarding is going to begin in a few minutes. Now, we're boarding group 5, so I figure this is a good time to drug up. Now, I remember what my doctor said, but given all the circumstances, I'm not choosing one or the other. I'm taking both. So I go find a drinking fountain, and I take 3 Xanax and 5 Ativan. We board the plane, and we head towards our economy seats, Pam against the window and me on the aisle. And by the time they do the security briefing, I'm already feeling strong effects from these drugs. I pull out the safety card, and I can't read it because there's 2 of them, and I can't get them merged together. But we take off and we fly, but between the turbulence and the drugs, I'm starting to feel worse and worse. But I'm holding it together until they bring out dinner, which is a pungent beef dish, and one whiff, and I'm like, "Ooh." Now, a normal person would just reach into the seat back pocket, pull out the bag there, and use it for its intended purpose. I, however, take one step out into the aisle, and I sprint to the back of the plane to make it to the restroom. And to my credit, I almost made it. But the first heave went bam, all over the galley, and the flight attendants, and me. Now, eventually I make it back to my seat, and the flight continues, and after what seems like forever, we're landing in Moscow. Have I slept? Not one wink. I am exhausted, and I am famished. I stumbled through passport control and then head to customs. Now, I'm carrying a fair amount of cash with me, and So I fill out the declaration card and I hand it to the guy there, and then a scary-looking Russian soldier holding an even scarier-looking automatic weapon looks at the card, looks at me, and says, "Show me the money." Now, in my addled brain, I'm not entirely sure what he said until he said it a little more firmly, "Show me the money." Now, you would think that this would be easy to do, but I am wearing not one, but two money belts. The one holds $91 bills. I figure if I got rolled in Russia, I would just hand it to the guys, they would take off, and life would be good. The other one, which is right against my skin, holds 90 $100 bills. That's the one that he wants to see, but by the time I show him the money, I am half naked in front of a long line of travelers that are pissed off and wondering what the hell is taking so long. So we get through the doors. I put myself all back together again, and then we meet the Russians who are taking us to the orphanage. And one of the questions we ask them is, "Oh, where are we staying tonight, by the way?" And one of the guys says, "You're staying with my grandmother. She's a very nice lady." I'm like, "That's great. Where does she live?" "Oh, she lives on the 20th floor of an apartment building in Russia." Of course she does. Anyway, we're Americans, and everybody's hungry, so our first stop on the way to the orphanage is McDonald's. Now, this McDonald's has a plate glass window in the front where you can look through it and you can actually see the menu. I can't look, because just thinking the word hamburger, and I'm going to lose it again. So instead, I stand outside in the rain while Pam brings me out a Coke, which is about the only thing that I can stomach. When we're done, we all pile into their little cars again, and we kind of bounce our way 45 minutes to the orphanage, and we park out in front. Now, the orphanage is on the corner, and it's a tree-lined neighborhood, and it's very peaceful. I take one step out of the car, and pow, all over the orphanage lawn. And I mean all over. It's fierce. I feel like I'm leaving half of my stomach lining in Russia. Poor Pam. She's exhausted as well, but her 8.5-month-old son, who she's never met, is inside the orphanage, while her husband is outside the orphanage losing his shit. It's too much. She bursts into tears. But I tell her, "Honey, it's okay. You go on in, meet our son, and I will follow once I'm done out here." So eventually I do follow, and I am more tired and hungry than I have ever been. I can hardly put one foot in front of the other, but I walk into the orphanage and I just collapse into a love seat. And then Pam walks over and she puts Alex on my lap. And the sweetest face in the entire world, with the biggest, roundest eyes, looks up at me and smiles. And my first thought is, I have to apologize to my mother for any mean things I ever said to her, because I had no idea that she loves me this much. In fact, with all due respect to Pam, I had no idea that I could love anyone this much. And we had just met. He doesn't look anything like us, but it doesn't matter, not even a little bit. The only thing that matters is that he is my son. And they take a picture, a Polaroid of us, and show us. And in that picture, you can see Alex is on my lap playing with the buttons on my shirt. Tears are rolling down my cheeks. And if you look very closely at the picture, you can see that I have puke on my jacket, and puke on my pants, and puke on my shoes. This is the day that I met my son, one of the best days of my life. Thank you.